Welcome back to the stall, all you stall talk babes. I'm Jenny Lee Harrison, and this is
Cass.
Pretty girl,
You're
pretty
a pretty
girl. Wow, so this episode we're going to get into some heavy duty kind of stuff.
I'm really excited for it. The person that we have on today is a creator that I personally relate to a lot. So I'm super excited to learn from her and hear what she has to say.
Because I know that you've even followed her, right?
Oh yeah, I have consumed so much of her content that I'm very excited to get into it.
Ooh, come on in.
Let's get down and dirty.
The totally unfiltered, honest.
To my brain.
I love your brain.
Stall talk.
Stall talk.
Y'all ready?
Because I had the pleasure of pre-interviewing her, and I was just blown away. And yet what I really, really like about her is she said, which I believe, that mental and physical health and well-being, it's always the 24/7. And it never goes away, no matter what age you are.
I'm starting to learn that.
Yeah, I mean, I never take a vacation from that. You know, I never just say, oh, it doesn't matter. Luckily for me, I'm very disciplined. So, but I'm disciplined about loving myself. But I've had to work very hard to get that way, and I'm very protective of it. Do you relate to any of that?
I relate 100%. Something that I always say for myself is I never want to be the same person that I was last year. In some way, I always want to grow or change or like do something better. Like there's thoughts that I once thought and fully believed in and stand by at that time of my life, and now that I'm like evolving and in a different time of my life, my opinions and thoughts grow and change. And I think it's really cool that we get to document and see like where we are in the moment at our life and what we think versus even a year now today.
Right. Yeah, because whenever people say that, oh, people don't change, I've always disagreed with that. I think we're always changing. Maybe there's some core things within ourselves, right, that are there, but I'm a completely different person than I was when I was 20 years old.
Even when people go back and be like, oh, well, I didn't mean that. I feel this way now. And it's like, no, I fully stand by and mean what I said at that time where I was.
Right.
But now, I feel like it is okay for people's opinions to change. I feel like we see so much online, them being like, oh, they said that and now they're saying this, like they're liars. And it's like, no, I'm not lying. I really did feel that way in that moment.
Right.
And now I feel this way. Like, it is okay for our opinions to change and evolve. It doesn't necessarily mean that like you're quote unquote lying just because you change.
So this whole social media thing that you live in, which I don't, how do you feel putting yourself out there so explicitly?
It's interesting because I grew up with it, so I didn't really feel anything. It was just part of life and what you did, because like I got an iPhone when I was in 7th grade. So like it was just part of life and what you did. And then, you do start to think later, maybe I shouldn't post that. Maybe I shouldn't have done that. But I personally don't regret any of it because that's who I was at that time. And now I'm becoming a different version, a different person, I guess. And I think I hope it's helpful for people to be able to see that change and that growth and know that they're not alone.
I think it's extremely admirable to just bare your soul to, a bunch of people that you don't know even, right? Oftentimes. And I know that I've never done that.
A light bulb just went off in my head.
Which
you made me think of something when, based off of your question, was that I remember when I was younger, the things that I would post or do or say online, my people in my life would always be like, maybe you shouldn't post that. You're never going to get a job if you post that. You're never going to have a career. But like, hey, I'm here. I'm here for fully being myself. And I am so proud of myself for staying true to who I am and not censoring myself for, that specific job, because I feel like if that job doesn't want me for who I am, that's not the right job for me. And, you know, maybe I'm not a good fit for them, but then they're also not a good fit for me. And I'm going to find what's meant for me. And I fully trust that whatever is meant for me will be meant for me and will happen.
That's brave, Cass.
Thanks.
Oh my gosh, because I know that I still have that good girl syndrome.
Yeah.
But but I'm working on it. Be more vulnerable, listen, and all that, right?
And this interview coming up, I'm really excited to get to speak to her.
And stay tuned for the interview with Ricki Friedman, where we're going to get all about it, how to improve ourselves.
Wish me luck. I am so excited for you guys to meet our guest today. Today we have Ricki Friedman. You may have seen her on TikTok. She's a creator, podcaster, and speaker. Welcome to Stall Talk.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I really am too. I'm so excited. When I saw that you were coming on the show, I was like, oh my gosh, I know. Well, don't know you in person, but I saw you on TikTok. And I love all of the advice that you're giving and speaking and sharing your story. For those that don't know who you are, can you share a little bit about yourself?
I am an entrepreneur, a creative entrepreneur, and I've been in the creative space for the last 12, 13 years. I have done life coaching and podcasting and just sharing my story publicly. I've always been a very public, open person. It's hard to me to define what I do because I feel like I've done very different things throughout different phases of my life. But over the last few years, I have helped thousands of people overcome addiction. So that's the main thing that I've been doing, and also started a podcast and just really been in the space of growth and personal development. So that's a very, the spark notes of my life.
You brought up addiction. That is a heavy topic. So
It's not a light one.
I'm like, we can get into it. Can you
Sure.
tell us your story on that?
The story spans when I was a little girl. I lost my mom when I was 13 years old, and
I'm sorry.
it's okay. Suffered deeply, just in general, and I'm also ADHD, and I think a lot of people don't realize that when you go through trauma or you're experiencing something in your life when you're really young, you hold trauma in your body, and people that are ADHD are just more prone to addiction, more seeking dopamine, more needing that high, that release. And so all throughout my life, I was always just looking for a release, something to just make me feel better. Whether it was cigarettes or food, or the big one was I was very addicted to marijuana for 15 plus years. Also very addicted to Adderall, but was prescribed Adderall. So it was a very sneaky addiction that I justified. And I walked away from weed 3.5 years ago and ended up going on TikTok and sharing about my experience. I was 100 days without weed, and it was a 7-second video. I had 200 followers, and I shared this experience. And since then, that video blew up, and I actually turned it into a program called Walking Away from Weed, where I ended up helping thousands of people walk away from weed addiction. And I've helped people walk away from Adderall, and I've helped people lose weight. And so a lot of the things that I've done have stemmed from my own personal experiences, hardships, if you will, and just helping people. It's not really about addiction. It's really about people reconnecting to themselves and not using things to disconnect and figuring out ways to reconnect.
Well, I'm really excited specifically to have you here because you touched on ADHD, and I personally have ADHD.
Everyone does.
So I've been navigating here on this show. I just got onto ADHD medication.
Okay.
So that was an interesting topic that I wanted to have with you. And what was your experience like with that?
My experience was very different and unique. I have probably a different perspective. I was diagnosed when I was 7 years old and put on Adderall. So I was a child, I was a kid, my brain was developing, and my perspective is children shouldn't be put on medication so young. However, I understand when I hear someone like you who probably have been struggling your whole life.
Yeah,
and
just found out.
Yeah, you're just why am I like this? Or this doesn't make sense. Why is this so hard? And you're struggling. You're deeply struggling and there's no answers, and then someone gives you medication and you're wow, oh, it can be easy. So my perspective for myself is I don't know if it was the best thing for me to be on. I was on it for 28 years. 80 milligrams, very high dose.
Years?
Yeah, I'm 37.
Wow. Oh, you don't look like
Thank
it.
you
You
so
look
much.
great.
I'm 37 for all those watching.
Wow.
So yes, I was on it for 28 years. For me, first of all, I can't sit here and say if it didn't help or not because I don't know. I was on it for so long. When you're on something for so long, you don't really know if it's helping or hurting. It just is. So I became very addicted to it. It's an addicting medication. What medication are you taking?
I actually don't know. She said, here's a pill for anxiety and depression, and here's a pill for ADHD.
You might want to check out what you're taking.
I probably should. And I was just like, well, this will do it. But honestly, I haven't taken it in like a month now.
Okay.
But I feel like the first step for me was just like being able to acknowledge that like I had something and that like I'm a little different. And like that is okay, because I feel like for so long we're just like scared to like say it, because then you get like categorized as like something's wrong with you.
100%. And I think that was my experience. Like, instead of it being like, oh, you're ADHD and this is the positive things, like, first and foremost, like, I hate labeling myself an addict or ADHD or this or that.
It's so like something's wrong with you.
Yeah, just like, I also think it's just like really can mess with your train of thought and your self-belief and your self-concept. But for me, like, being put on medication did the opposite. It was like, oh, you can't survive without this. Like, you're not normal unless you take medication.
Like, this is what's going to fix me.
You're going to fix you. You can't drive without, you can't talk without, you can't exist without. Like, I was like in it. And it became like a part of my identity. And then when I walked away from it, because I was like, is this normal? Like, am I supposed to be taking this much medication? Like, it's been 28 years. I don't even know myself. Like, who am I? I knew I wanted to have a baby in the future and like would have to get off the medication anyways. I knew that I really wanted to be in a serious relationship. I didn't think I wanted to get off medicine with somebody. And so I walked away from it 2 years ago. And it was truly the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. So my advice to people is like, everyone's different, but like understand what you're taking and why you're taking it, and make sure you develop a healthy relationship with it, because when something makes you feel good, whether it's good for you or not, it can become very addicting.
You talked about this on your TikTok, which was one of my favorite videos that made me like actually think, because you were like,
I'm so glad my TikTok made you think.
It does. Oh my gosh, what a concept.
What a concept.
But you said like how you used it as like an excuse for your addiction. And that like kind of clicked in my mind. I was like, whoa, like this makes sense. What did it take for you to like realize that and have that click for you?
It took me becoming I felt like a psychopath, like just to be straight up honest with you. I remember like taking the medication, looking in the mirror and crying and being like, there's this thing that I'm taking that's supposed to elevate and help me. And I'm sitting in front of a mirror and I'm crying because I'm like paralyzed by fear. I'm paralyzed by all these things.
Creating another anxiety.
It's creating
like,
another thing
don't have it,
that I don't. And I was like, and I just kept thinking like, who am I? Like my main question was like, who is Ricki? And like, is Ricki a medicated person her whole life? Or is there like this person under me that just like wants to come out and like explore the world? So instead of feeling like I needed it, I started to feel guilty that I was taking it. And I think that's the switch for people. Doesn't matter what it is, whether it's you're in a relationship that's wrong, or you're at a job that's not right, or you're like overeating, or you're drinking. Like once you make the switch from like, I need this, have to have this, to like, I don't know. Should I take this?
Yeah.
Should I stay? Should I go? Once you switch the language, then you're like, okay, like you have a level of guilt. The level of guilt is like a signal to you to be like, I don't know if this is right.
Yeah.
So for me, I just became guiltier and guiltier and more addicted. I was very addicted.
So for people who currently are in the same situation, what are the things that you discovered that you can use instead of the medication?
I mean, it had to change my whole life. Like full out. First of all, you have to change your diet.
Okay.
You have to understand like what dopamine is and how the nervous system works. Like I was on a strict diet and like a very strict regimen for like 90 days. I didn't look at my phone for the first 4 hours of the day, because you're preserving dopamine. You're like recreating your dopamine.
Okay.
So the medication gives you dopamine. It increases your dopamine. People with ADHD have lower levels of dopamine, so they're always seeking a high. Addiction. This is why people who are always like, they become obsessed with people, or they become obsessed with things, right? It's not a bad thing. But whatever can be a good thing can also be a bad thing, depending how you use it. So my biggest thing is like, I didn't get off the medication until I understood my brain. I was like, okay, so if I'm a person that seeks dopamine and I'm taking this medication that I'm gonna get rid of, then I'm gonna feel depressed, because I'm gonna go from like 100 to 0. So what can I
learn how to like re-navigate and train your brain.
100%. So like, what can you do? Like I started doing hot yoga. I started to eat like mainly a protein diet. I started to stop looking at my phone as much, because like when your phone, you scroll, you get so much dopamine, like it's another drug. So I started to figure out ways to get natural dopamine. I also just like allowed myself to like exist in the in-between for at least a year.
I like that.
It was not, I'm making it sound way more glamorous than it was. It was very challenging, but the alternative was like going back on medicine, and that wasn't an option for me.
I have this like saying or like quote in my head is like the things that bring you comfort aren't necessarily the things that are healthy for you.
100%.
So I love that like you're learning to like live in the discomfort.
I think you have to.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
Whether you're gonna grow,
how you're gonna grow, but like how you're gonna change. Like most people don't change their life because they're like this
because it's comfortable.
This sucks. Like, I don't want to stop talking to that person. What if I'm lonely? I don't want to start doing this. What if I, whatever it is for that person. For me, it was like, I just always think about the alternative. Okay, like you can stay and you can live this life and this can be comfortable, even though it's not even that comfortable.
I agree.
Like people that are trying to lose weight, like I always think like it is comfortable to like sit in your bed and eat and like not go to the gym, but you're also like very
sacrificing it for so many other things.
Right, but you're also uncomfortable. Like you're still uncomfortable, so I guess like choose your discomfort.
Exactly.
You can like be uncomfortable and make progress, or you can be uncomfortable and like stay uncomfortable.
I feel like we're like in the same boat, or you're like just live the process that I'm currently on.
Yeah.
Because I just went through like, if you go back and watch episode 1, I was 199 and today I'm 135. Like,
wow.
Probably like a year and a half, but most of it was like the shift in my mind.
It's all your like what kind of shift for you?
It's all in your head. Like I didn't want to change at the moment. I wanted to be comfortable eating my emotions and my feelings and not exercising and not doing things that are good for me. Going out and partying every day, that was comfortable for me because that's what I knew and that's what I was used to and didn't want to change and grow. And it took like TikTokers and people like you and what you do to like give me some tough love and just be for effing real with me. Yeah. And then it kind of like clicked in my head and I was like, you're just like making excuses for yourself. Like sometimes I see these influencers talking like the body positivity stuff and like
don't even get me started.
No, I feel like they kept me comfortable, like in a way, and like I needed.
No, they
someone
comforted
to be,
you. You kept yourself comfortable,
exactly,
and they were like, "It's okay,
they reassured
it's okay."
It exactly.
Yeah.
And then I was like, "Yeah, it's okay." Like me being overweight and unhappy, like it's okay, it's okay. And then eventually, I was like, "You need to love yourself more and have some more self-respect for yourself to be uncomfortable to make the change."
I have a question for you because this is the part that people get very tripped up on. So you've obviously tried to change your life before. This
many
is
times.
Not the first time, right?
Many times.
Okay, so
every diet, every fad, every juice cleanse.
So what was different for you? And like, I'm sure there was a point in your process too where you were like, I don't want to do this anymore. So what was different for you, and how did you move through that point where your body and your brain was just like, let's just go back? Maybe you fell off track. Maybe the scale wasn't moving. Like, I'm sure you experienced all those things. So like, what are the two things for you?
Oh, that's a good
Because like
question.
anyone can like say I changed my life, but like people want to understand like, okay, not like what did you eat? How did you get through?
It's your mind.
Okay, but what about your mind?
Multiple things. So I feel like one of the first things was when I first tried losing weight and like becoming healthier, it was more just like a fast, like quick change. I was like, let me do like this juice cleanse and drop like 10 pounds in 3 days. Let me do keto. Let me do intermittent fasting because it's going to be like this quick fix. And I had to learn that like, this is like a completely new lifestyle. And I love this. I really like Mel Robbins and like what she says. And it's like, be the person that you want to become.
Right.
And I had to stop thinking like, one day when I become this girl, I'm going to do this and dress and act and be like her. I had to like have the shift in my mind that like, I'm already like this fit, hot, young, like skinny, thriving girl. And I was like, okay, well, what does this girl do to be that person that I want to become? And I had to start making those changes and live like the person that I want to become instead of thinking one day I'll be her.
I imagine you probably had to like coach yourself a million times, like
I
every
still
day.
do every day, all day, every day. It's not easy. Not at all. It's not easy at all. And it's like, yeah, I can say this now that I'm kind of like on the other side. There's still things, obviously, I'm still always wanting to grow and improve. But during the process, it was not easy at all. Like, I felt like, oh, I'm doing all this work and I still see no change.
So how did you, because that's where people give up. They're like, okay, I'm doing it. Nothing is working, but I'm doing it. And I'm like listening to the podcast and I'm watching the TikToks.
But nothing's changing.
So like, how do you actually, if someone was like, okay, so what did you do? Because you got here. You must have like, whether
because I'm still in this process and I'm like, wow,
Totally.
it's really cool. Like, getting to like go back and reflect and change, because obviously the lifestyle I was living, I wasn't happy and I was in it for so long that it's like, if I kept going, something's like bound to change if I go and become.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Like, it's like luck, hard work.
Yeah.
Like something's gonna happen.
It's like, I'm like, something has to, like,
Yeah.
after I go so long, and that's the hard part.
Yeah.
Is like constantly like
Yeah.
thinking you're putting in the work, but nothing happening. And it's like, okay, well, I could either go back to who I was and just stay the same and be comfortable, or I can make these changes and know and believe in myself that one day it is going to happen.
It's so true. Like just momentum. And just like I always hear this from like content creators too. They're just like post. Nothing happens. Like you're in 500 views,
You're
post.
like, why am I doing this?
Why am I doing this? And like, I don't know, you go viral. Or like something happens. Someone like is like, wow, I saw your video. You should come on our show. Or like, so I think it's true. I think it's like, if you do something long enough, like something happens. Unless it's like not aligned and like it's not a good thing that you should be doing, I feel like something happens. I just always have to tell myself that.
What was it like for your journey in your health and wellness?
In what way?
With fitness and weight loss and your body standards and your views? Because I know you have a lot of opinions on those, and I feel like we're very similar with them. So
I have a lot
you must
of
have
opinions.
that shift too.
I struggle with my body image a lot. I don't know if it's because I lost my mom so young or because I was put on medication that gave me no appetite. I don't know if it's because of like my obsessive like personality, but I'm not, I'm gonna say this in a nice way, I'm not like a big body positivity like girl.
I am too.
I don't really care what other people look like. I'm very only concerned with like how I feel and what I look like, only because I've had so many things in my life that have felt out of control, and I'm like, when the world feels like it's crashing down, I always just like to feel like I'm strong physically.
How do you do that?
I'm very diligent with what I eat. I'm very diligent with what I do. I might be a little obsessive sometimes. I also, like, when I got off Adderall, I gained 15 pounds in 2 months, which was like devastating.
Hard change.
Just beyond. First of all, like, when you're like known for something your whole life, like you're known to be like pretty and cute and small, and then like you do this thing, you get off a medication that like is ruining your life, you do something positive, you're like, okay, universe, I'm gonna make this big brave decision, you're gonna
good for me.
You're gonna open all the doors for me, right? Like, we're a team. And then it was like, oh, here, you're gonna be tired, anxious, and here's 15 pounds. And I was like, holy shit, what am I gonna do? Like,
Yeah, it's like, why did I do this?
why
in
did
the
I do
moment?
this? Why am I
Yeah.
being punished? And I didn't like, I had to gain weight because my body was so confused. Like, the way that I was operating before wasn't normal. So the way I was operating after wasn't normal either. It was like my chance to figure out like a new normal. I ended up like having to like really go internal and like fix my relationship with food and my relationship with dopamine. I realized that I had just like a really messed up relationship with the things that I was putting into my body. But I also realized, and I stand by this, like a lot of people after I gained the weight, I have since lost 10 of those pounds. Great, like I'm not 100% where I wanna be. I'm very like open and vocal about that. A lot of people think I'm a little crazy. It's like, it's okay. But the biggest thing that I have learned is like, it's your body. It is your body. Like, nobody can tell you like, what looks good or what, that people can like, okay, we're not promoting like to be having an eating disorder. I'm just saying like, you wake up in your body, you go to sleep in your body. So
It's you.
It's you. So for me, I'm a big advocate. Like, listen, you don't want to be unhealthy, but like, I put it number one. Like, I don't, like if someone's like, you should eat this, and I'm not hungry, I'm like, so I don't care what anyone thinks.
Just have the slice, live your life.
Everyone's
this little
projecting.
thing isn't gonna affect you,
Right.
but it's like, it's
I just
not
think
that
like
it's
you don't wake up in my body.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't get to
You're
decide.
not gonna feel the way that I feel
Right.
after I eat it.
Right. So I'm very stern. I'm very like, only because like now I know what it's like to be too skinny. Now I know what it's like to have 15 pounds on me. I was very miserable. And so now I'm just very protective. And, you know, it's just, my stance is sometimes a little too obsessive, also keeps me sort of in check. I'm not.
Sometimes being a little delulu does it for you.
I think also just being like, what makes you your most confident self? Do I need to be 100 pounds again? No. Am I where I want to be right now? No. Do I know what to do to get to where I want to be in a nice, healthy, sustainable way? Yes. I think it's important to accept like who you are. Like, I accept this about myself. I accept that I'm a little bit like maybe on the crazier side. I accept it, because if I resist it, then it's like I have to like make excuses and be like, that's not who I am. And I'm like, okay, like my friends will make fun of me for it. They're just like, you're really crazy. I'm like, I'm a little crazy. And then like, what are you gonna say to that?
My friends are literally always like, we love you, Cass, but like we could only have one of you. Like one is plenty. And I'm like, hey, I get it, but I'm fully gonna be me.
Yeah, for sure.
I'm curious about how when you made the change to like no longer like smoke weed or anymore, I'm sure like part of your social circle and your friends were probably involved in it too. How does it affect your social life?
Actually, I smoked alone.
Oh.
No one knew that I spoke.
Wow.
I got high from like 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. in my car alone. I had a boyfriend. I was living with a guy at the time. I mean, nobody knew.
That must have felt like such a weight on your shoulders.
I was living a double life.
Yeah.
But even before him, I was. Like, I've always been an entrepreneur. I've always been a speaker. I've always been transforming lives. And I always had this other life where I would go and I would just get high all day. And I think it's because I had so much trauma and I was on so much medication. I really believe that like I was so overstimulated and I was in so much pain that I like felt like I had, and like when you smoke weed, when you're ADHD, sometimes it chills you out. So I wasn't like getting high laying in my bed all day. I was getting high and going to speaking events.
And being productive.
Like, so you justify it. So my social circle expanded when I stopped smoking because I became more social. I didn't have to hide. And when you're hiding something, it is like, no matter how expansive you are, like this. So for me, like my whole life, I stopped smoking weed. 2 weeks later, my boyfriend broke up with me. Unrelated, just the universe was like, let's get rid of everything in your life that's not working. And then I moved in with my brother. I got fired from a marketing job all within 3 weeks.
Wow.
And then I was like, oh, I'm free.
Wow.
I'm fucking free.
How does your life feel now?
Like today? Today it's okay.
And I think that's like so great to be able to acknowledge.
I'm grateful for my life. I'm on my way. I struggle a little bit just figuring out my path. So like, am I where I want to be? No, I like this morning was like very anxious and very like, because I'm not like doing the addiction stuff anymore. And I feel like I have a lot of talents and gifts and I'm not really sure where to direct them. And you don't want to feel like you're not using up your potential. So today I'm okay. But I'm like sort of going through it.
What are you going through right now?
A transition. Ever since I got off Adderall, it's been really hard for me to like, I had this beautiful business. I've helped thousands walk away from weed. I was crushing it. I was very successful. And then I just got burnt out and then I got off medicine and I'm just really trying to figure out like what's next. And I want to be a full-time speaker and I'm trying to figure out how to do that.
You're very good at it.
Thanks. I'm trying to get out of my own way, I guess. And like figure out what's aligned. You know, everyone's always like, you should do this, you should do that. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. So yeah, I genuinely am trying to figure it out.
How does it feel knowing that you've been able to help so many different people?
I don't know if I've like allowed myself to like
feel
the depths of it. I think that's the problem is like when you're moving so fast, you don't like stop to think about the things that you've done. It's only when someone like reaches out to me and they're like, hey, like my whole life has changed because of your coaching or because of your video. And I'm like, wow, that's insane. Like what? Like, you know, I don't know that I feel it. It's weird.
Yeah.
It's a little weird.
It is. I wonder like why.
It's got to be like an internal thing.
Yourself to feel it.
It's got to be an
Sometimes
internal.
like maybe it's like some kind of like imposter syndrome too, like in your own head or because I feel that way all the time with things that I'm doing and then like it takes somebody else to say it for me, for it to click and I'm like, I don't give myself enough credit.
I don't know. I don't know if it's like there are some things people can say to me and I feel it and I'm like, wow, thank you. Like, thank you for telling me that. Like, I host an event called Shabbat and Friends. I host this like monthly big Shabbat. You know what Shabbat is?
Jewish.
Jewish dinner. I took a Jewish. It's not really like it's a Jewish thing, but it's just like a beautiful way to bring people together. So I host them, and I get like 30 to 40 people from all over LA to come.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
It's so fun. It's so amazing. And when somebody says to me like, that was such a beautiful event, and I went to dinner with 5 of the people that I met from that event, that makes me feel really good because I know what it feels like to feel lonely. So I feel like it's just the level of like how much it hits me. Like when someone says like, I have things to do now because of you, because I met people, that makes me feel like $1 million.
That would make me cry.
It made me cry. It makes me cry because I'm like, I know what it feels like to feel like you are meant to be around people, but you're so lonely that you're not, or you can't be, or you just moved here, you're going through a breakup, whatever. So like that makes me feel really good. I think the addiction stuff makes me feel good too, but I feel like I outgrew it. So when you outgrow something, you're not as connected to it. So you like, that's amazing, but you almost feel so far from it. At the beginning, I felt incredible.
I remember seeing one of your posts that I related to. I may have stalked you a little bit.
Please stalk me.
But I remember one of the posts, it was like one of your parents like commenting about like you posting like your life on like social media.
Every day.
How does it affect your life personally?
I think it really affects me. I never have stopped, but I think it's created a lot of internal resistance. And I think I'm seeing that more than ever. Like I used to share everything. And you know, people have said to me like, so fucking rude. People have said to me like, Ricki, like you're amazing and you're beautiful, but like you're never gonna meet a guy because you share so much on social media. And I'm like, that's not like a thing.
It's
because
like,
like
well,
that's
I'm not
who
doing this for them. This is just me being me.
Also, just like that's who I am.
Yeah.
Like you're right. I'm not gonna like maybe the wrong guy.
Yeah.
But I think right now in my life, I'm trying to figure out. I'm thinking about just like blocking everybody in my family and like in my life, like totally being like transparent because I feel like it holds me back.
I feel like I'm in a very similar situation because over this past weekend, I was going to church with my family, which I don't really go to myself, but that's like a whole other topic.
You like do it with your family.
Yeah, like with my family, I don't really do that. And like I dress like very conservatively because like obviously I was going to church and they were like, you know, maybe if you dress like this and like do this more, you'll find a husband. And then my first thought was, but then like he wouldn't be my husband because it's like that's not me.
Right.
So it's like, well, if I do all these things to be somebody else, like then that's like not my actual person. So I feel like if anything, I need to fully be myself to actually meet my person and not do these things to get a husband for them to like a version of me that isn't even actually me.
It's so true. I also feel like I think it's really hard for people when they have all the things that they want you to have. They have the husband, they have the wife, they have the kids, they have the job. It's like very easy for somebody to say to you,
do this,
it worked for me. Do this is what I did. And sometimes it works. Like when you have a mentor that built a business that you want to build, like, yeah, it might be a good idea to like listen to.
They're not telling you the bad parts.
Or they're just not telling you what it took for them to get there. Or like the shitty dates they went on. Or like the loneliness that they experienced. And you know what? I think people just get lucky. I was thinking about it today. I was like, I'm 37 years old. I feel like I'm a decent looking person. I don't know, like a normal person. And my friends are all married with children. And I want to get married and have children. And I'm like, you know, sometimes you can be like, what do they have that I don't have? And I'm like, they got lucky. Straight up, they got lucky. They met their person at a young age. And that's amazing. And their life path was like, this is what your path is. And I think that's incredible. Like, it's not my path.
It's not our journey.
It's just not my journey. It's not your journey. Like, they got lucky. That was their path. Like, and sometimes you have more pain. So sometimes it's like the path just leads you to different places. But that's my whole thing now. I'm just like, they got lucky. Wow. And I'm going to get lucky and you're going to get lucky. But like, it's just they got lucky a little earlier. They weren't like skinnier or prettier or better. Like,
that was their path.
First of all, they were like your age when they met their husband and wife. So they met them young.
Wow.
So young, or like 28, whatever, 30. But like, they're not even like a developed person yet. So it's not that they're doing something better.
They might be a completely different person 10 years from then.
For sure.
Yeah.
And you know, the good marriages stand the test of time. But I also just think like they got lucky. That was their path. And so whenever my family says to me like, you know, you meet someone, blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, this is my path. Like, I don't know how to speed it up. Yeah, what do you want me to do? Like,
we all have our own paths.
I try to talk to the universe, but we have sort of this conversation, and I'm like, I don't know. I'm just surrendering. Like, I don't know. I'm going to meet the right person at the right time. You will too.
I hope you meet your person.
If I don't meet him next week, I'm out. I'm done.
I'm like, I'm over it. What is your advice for younger generations?
For the younger generations? You really have to trust the timing of your life. And to like cultivate a relationship with yourself first.
That is so nice
to
hear.
By the way, which is like an ever-evolving process, the better you feel about yourself physically and emotionally, the easier it will be for you to cultivate a relationship with yourself, the easier it will be for you to like walk your path.
Thank you so much. We enjoyed having you on Stall Talk, and I feel like I can talk to you forever.
Thank you for having me. This was amazing.
Thank you, guys.
That was the best interview that you have ever done, ever.
Thanks.
And I mean, I loved her insightfulness, her realness, right?
I feel so heard and so seen. Even though I was interviewing her, I felt like it was just like this like beautiful conversation of two people who are in very similar places. And it was so nice to get to meet her. I feel like I just made like a new big sister.
And she had such words of wisdom, but at the same time, nothing about her was fake, it seemed. I mean, that she said it's still, and I could say at my age, it always is a work in progress, right? And I love that she was interested in you. She asked you, you know,
I was not expecting that at all.
Oh, I know, to be,
she was like, well, no, I have to think about an answer.
Yeah. So what's your takeaways? What did you learn? How can what she say help you?
I honestly feel very reassured on the journey and path that I'm on, because it's not comfortable and it's not easy. And I'm really learning to be comfortable with the uncomfortable, because the things that brought me comfort in my past were not the things that were the best or healthy or actually fulfilling for me. And I'm basically putting myself in uncomfortable things to be able to be the person I want to become.
Oh, because you know what, when you've asked me before, like, oh, Jenny, like, you know, hasn't this helped you be real? And I say, well, I don't know how real I still am. I'm learning baby steps, but that's a real tough one for me, that I don't like being uncomfortable.
Yeah. How so?
I don't like being scared. I don't like being uneasy. I don't like not knowing the path in front of me. So yeah, I'm one that really seeks out stability within my environment. Ooh,
That's interesting, because I keep hearing that like those are things that stem from our childhood and like the reason why we are the way that we are. Like there's a reason why now you as an adult like seek stability and like always wants to know what the next step is, because maybe when you were a child you didn't have that.
yes, that's true. That's another.
Anyways, next topic.
That's a whole nother topic and all that stuff. But yeah, I also think this is weird, but my life, because my life has been in show business since I was, again, like really, really young. Since the time I was about 15 years old, show business is very unstable.
Yeah.
That you don't know when's your next job, how long the job is for. You have many jobs. I mean, I've just never had that real job where you go in and you punch a time,
in and clock out.
Right. I've never had that. So
Yeah.
because my work has always been very unstable, it's always been very, very important to me that my life, my home is stable.
Everything else around you.
Yeah, like I cannot leave my house unless, I mean, it's perfect. Well, at any time, I can't leave a dish in the sink. I couldn't, getting out of the bathtub, I can't wouldn't never leave the towel on the floor. It has to be arranged that it's drying out properly. I just have to I have all my P's and Q's. When I travel, the moment I come home, I have to unpack.
Really? I'm so the opposite. I'll have my suitcase sitting like in the corner until like my next trip in 6 months, and I'll just like pull things from the suitcase.
Isn't that so? That's what's so weird about us. So the fact that we are so different, and everybody in this world is so very different. We still have, though, a lot of the same issues, right? Of life, the same issues, problems, whatever. So therefore, though, I'm speaking out loud, and as I continue to learn, don't we have to then handle how to get to that end result differently?
Well, I feel like kind of like what I was talking about with her is that we all have our own journey and our own path, and then it's different for everybody. Because I personally compare myself to a lot of people in the way of just like feeling like I'm behind. And I'm starting to learn that everybody kind of feels that way in some sense.
Wow. Well, again, it was really heavy duty, but she was such a breath of fresh air, especially in this business, right?
Yeah.
I mean, oh my gosh. So yeah. So what do you think too, that the things that our audience, what are some takeaways do you think, Cass?
I hope that people who are struggling with the same or something similar, like ADHD, anxiety, depression, whatever it is, I hope that they feel seen and that they know that they're not alone. I remember being so scared to even talk about it because I never saw girls that looked like me, that were my age, that were talking about these things, because I had this perspective in my head that somebody who lives with this looked or was a certain way. Like I had this own like bias in my head, and it's nice to know that like it could be anyone. And I no longer like categorize and like put people into boxes. And it's like I just really hope that people can be okay with being different.
I also try to remind myself that you never know what somebody else is going through.
Yeah. That is very, very true.
So when you think somebody is attacking you or somebody's judging you, you don't know what they're going through. But anyway, great interview. Thank you, Cass.
Thank you.
I'm going to rewatch this one again and again because there was so much great information. And thank you to all of our listeners out there and listeners, watchers. Go back and listen again to this episode. It was fabulous, girlfriend.
Thank you.
Appreciate you all here, all our Stall Talk babes.
Trending up, trending down.
What?
Hey guys, it's that time, trending up and trending down on Stall Talk. Now, can you imagine going to the grocery store, buying a box of Fruit Loops, and the colors not being there? Well, food dye in America is being banned, and I'm curious what you guys think about it. I'm personally pretty excited about it, because you guys know I'm now on my little health and wellness journey. But what do you guys think? Let's talk about it in the comments. That's all for me for trending up and trending down.
Thank you so much for watching and listening to another episode of Stall Talk.
Don't forget to like, follow, and subscribe on all our social media platforms.
And watch and listen next week when we go into summer headstrong.
I can't wait. Bye, guys.
Bye-bye.